Hey, welcome back. So today, I'm going to finally get around to taking these side rods off. I already got all the other valve gear and all the other rods have already been taken off a while ago, but it's time to take these off. Now, first thing you're going to want to do, I'm just taking the rods off. I'm not removing the drivers or anything like that. But if you were to take the wheels out and try to take the drivers off, you have to remember about quartering. You can't just have each side rod wherever you want. And but some people may think side rods don't always match. Like, you can't have both side rod sets like down to 6 o'clock. The quartering would be way off, the engine wouldn't run right. So if you're going to ever take off all the drivers, you got to make sure everything's quartered, they call it, when you put it back together. Each side needs to be 90 degrees off from the other side. But a simple rule of thumb is if one side is at 12 o'clock, you put the rods up at 12, the other side should be at 3 o'clock, which they are. So 12 and 3 is usually how you want to quarter and have your side rods. So when you put the wheels back on, the drivers, you want to make sure that one side is when they're all up at 12 o'clock, the other side, they're at 3 o'clock. Basically, 12 o'clock is where the pin is. See, that pin's at 12. That pin's at 3 o'clock. 12, 1, 2, 3. Which is 90 degrees off from this side. But like I said, I'm not taking the drivers off. I'm just taking the side rods off. So when I go to put them back on, everything will line up because they have to line up to the holes that are already there. But again, you're going to want them at 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. If you would take all the drivers off, you'd have to realign them all. That's how it goes. That is called quartering. But I am not doing that. I'm just taking the side rods off. And the center main ones, these screws, have already been loosened from previous work. Take off the front. So if I put the right socket on, it's always a plus. Break it loose. Okay, I'm going to take this. A lot of times they're just snugged on. They don't really have to do too much. As soon as you break them loose, they come right off. That's really loose. This is an engine, like I said before, a friend of mine got this as a box of parts. Gave me a box of parts from his train shop. And this Hudson was in it. Very dirty. Very non-running and dirty. So I know nothing about the history of this engine. But I would just assume, from what I've seen, except for the fact that it looks like that fifth wire was added for the wiring. If it wasn't for that fifth wire, I would say this engine was never worked on before. It's all stock, never been taken apart, but you can't. Really no way to tell. I sure as hell can't tell. This engine's almost 73 years old. But a long life. Alright, side rods are off. Smooth. Another thing you'll notice too is there's a thing on steam engine wheels, on drive wheels sometimes. And sometimes on 060s or anything with 6 drivers or more, sometimes the center driver will be called a blind driver. What a blind driver is means there's no flange. See, these have flanges, but this has no flange. That's called a blind driver. What that's for is if you're going around tight radiuses and it's tight, this driver can move with the curvature and not get hung up on the flange. The thing I noticed about Flyer is some of the 6 drivers and 8 drivers, not only are they blind drivers, but they also don't make full contact with the track. See that? I'm assuming that's normal. My 484 Northern, the center 4 drivers are a good distance off the railhead. And they're also blind drivers too. So I don't know if that's right or not. But anyway, again, you guys want to chime in, the internet's full of experts. So if you want to chime in, go ahead and chime in. Let me know. So I want to try to clean these side rods off. I got a lot of the running gear and valve gear is all dirty. All needs cleaning. But while we're at with this, I'm going to give this the first attempt. You can see these are pretty bad. Both pretty bad. I'm going to try a couple attempts that I've tried in the past that seems to have worked for me. Try some steel wool first. Steel wool is usually a pretty good go-to. It usually does a pretty good job, unless stuff is too terribly bad. Well, it's breaking the surface, as they say. We are getting in there. But, well, you can see the steel wool did pretty good. Did pretty good. The good thing about old stuff, old metal, old chroming, basically just about anything old, they made stuff better back then. A lot of the metal, a lot of the chroming and the nickel plating and all that stuff was a lot better than it is today. Mostly because they've gotten cheaper and different environmental regulations, etc., etc. But that did pretty good. Better than I thought. Because these looked a little bit more pitted than I first thought. But you never know. Like I said, especially with old stuff, old chroming and old nickel plating and old plating in general, old metals have a lot more durability to them. It's also a lot of myths too. Like you'll see stuff like on car rims or car bumpers, and the chrome is gone. I mean, there is nothing left. If you see nothing but rust and the chrome is gone, I don't care what they sell you in a bottle, what kind of fix-it-all miracle drug you get. It is not going to do anything. Just like old stuff too. It doesn't matter. It's new world. Once you get to a point where your metal is gone and the chrome and the plating is gone, there is nothing you're going to do to bring that back up. It's kind of like primer. The big misconceptions of primer. But that's another video for another time. Anyway, that looks pretty good. A lot better than I thought it would. Again, I have a lot more of the other running gear to get to, and valve gear and shit like that. But we'll get to that later. I just want to experiment here with this stuff. So that worked. But as someone who never can leave well enough alone, oftentimes to my detriment, I'm going to hit it with a wire wheel. Wire wheel is a miracle worker oftentimes in this hobby. And again, like my last video, I wore my safety glasses for soldering because of hot solder flaming up. I'm wearing safety glasses again because these little things tend to come out and they will stick you in the eye. So we're going to see what this does. Got my trusty Harbor Freight Dremel, which actually works pretty good. The only problem with it is sometimes it dogs out too easily when you push on it too hard. I'm not sure why it dogs out. Oh, I know. It's because it's from Harbor Freight. That's why. So we're going to see what this does. See how it dogs out? Not a powerhouse. Just Can't get nothing for $18 anymore, huh? That didn't work. It's definitely making an improvement. I mean, I've already done this on other side rods and other engines, but the other ones I've worked on weren't as bad as these. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Definitely hit them again a little bit, but you can see the difference. They're definitely getting there. Try this one a little. Try a little more power here. Hit the turbos. Definitely working. Oh, let's see what it does here. The steel wool didn't take a dent. That looks like this end here is a little crusty. See if you can break into that. Wow, see what I mean? This thing is. Whew. The old saying, you get what you pay for. And unfortunately, when it comes to tools, that saying is very true. I'm not really much of a name brand kind of guy. I don't really believe in name brands for a lot of things. I like to keep it cheap. But when it comes to tools and other things like that, like I play guitar, which you'll see some more videos for that soon too. When it comes to like guitars and tools and car stuff, you do get what you pay for, unfortunately. Well, I might want to go over these a little bit better later on, but definitely happy with it. Is the rest of the stuff that needs cleaning is a little worse than this, some of it, but some of it's a little better, so it gives me hope that it'll all clean up pretty nice. So like I said, I've done this before, but the stuff I've done wasn't quite as bad. Alright, well, these definitely came up pretty nice so far. I want to work them a little bit more, maybe hit them with some steel wool now that they're looking better. So now the other thing is these screws. My one engine I took these off. I made these things look like polished brass on a uniform. You got the small ones, you got the two center driver ones, the bigger ones. I like these clean too. So, I need my needle nose, which are over the other side of the room. I will be right back. That's the bad part about when you're trying to work on something and you try to keep ahead of yourself and clean up, and then you put the shit away you don't need to be putting away. So anyway, don't ever try to hold these things in your hand with a Dremel. You'll end up dremeling your fingers more than the part. You can see that's pretty crunchy looking. These things you may need to hit a little more because they got a layer of rust and crust. And let's just go over it. Doesn't take too much to get it looking good. Actually, some of these are brass. It's kind of hard to tell. I gotta fix the lighting in here. It's really bad lighting. Some of these are brass. So I think this one's brass too. Damn, it is really hard to tell. But you can see already, it's shiny. Looks good. This is the little stuff I like on engines when you restore stuff. It's the little details. Just want to go over that a little bit. And hit the sides. Be careful with that. Don't want to fling this across the floor. But you can hit the sides a little bit. Might just do this by hand later. Hit the sides. Alright, so that's one of the larger ones that goes in the center driver. Let's try one of the little guys and hold the other drivers on. Put it in there. Drop it down in the needle nose. And then you hit it up. Quality, I tell you. Like I said, I think I paid $18 for this. So you get what you pay for, but it does the job. Sometimes when it comes to tools, one of my good ones takes a crap, or I lose it or break it or whatever. I kind of hesitate on getting a new one. I want something good. I don't want to waste money on, so I end up buying junk until I get the good one. Anyway, so this is a little guy. They come up pretty nice too. So they'll all look good once they're back on. The screws, the side rods, and the rest of the running gear and valve gear and all that stuff. Once it's all polished, will look good. So, oh well, that's that. Thanks for checking it out.